Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Master the Path of Money, with MAPS coach Drew Lee. Please note this webinar is being recorded, and you will automatically receive the webinar recording. If you have questions for your coach, please type them into the questions box located in your webinar taskbar. Following the webinar, if you have any questions about today's call or coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. That is FASTTRACK@kw.com. That's all for me. Drew, take it away.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everyone being here today, this Monday morning or Monday afternoon. So we want to start off. First, my name is Drew Lee. I've been a MAPS coach now just over a decade. Started with Bold in 2009. Then been coaching agents ever since started one-on-ones in 2012, and then do that full time today. And we kind of want to give a brief history lesson. So if we go to the first slide. So many of us see that several years ago, Gary Keller wrote a book called Shift. And it was how agents tackle tough times. It's not about the market, it's about what you do. Perfect. So first tactic is about getting real, getting right. It's about getting your mindset in the place where it needs to be so you can succeed in any market, regardless of the market conditions. You know, Gary in the last 2 weeks has done multiple webinars, live streams on KW Connect, where you've gotten the opportunity to see the technology and the movement of where we're going and where he's taking Keller Williams and our tech team and John Davis and the leadership with Diana Kokoska, and how our entire team is moving towards what is the mindset we've got to have to thrive in the next marketplace. And that was tactic one. When what you do isn't working the way you need it to, so we start shifting our activities, and first we shift how we think, and then we shift what we do. Then tactic two is about remargining your business and getting into expense management, looking at profit, looking at where you can control your spending so you maximize your revenue. And then tactic three is about doing more with less with leverage. The reason I wanted to start with this is because many markets across the country are experiencing a shift. Diana Kokoska said several months ago that we're in a competitive shift now. Now we're starting to see the economic wave, interest rates going up. Many agents and teams across the country, inventory is changing. We're seeing signs of a shift that says you're either in it, starting to feel it, or the movement that happens gradually, then suddenly it's happening all around you, whether you know it or not. So why is a shift, why would we bring that up, and why would a shift be important, especially as we're talking about master the path of money? Because for one reason, shifts cause the greatest redistribution of wealth and opportunity in the world. When a shift happens, they say that the market share that you gain during a shift, you'll never lose. The market share that you lose during a shift, you'll never get back. And that's really important to know. So we've got to make sure that we're doing the things necessary to insulate ourselves as well as take advantage in an opportunity that's going to be coming ahead. If shifts cause redistribution of wealth, then we've got to make sure that we've got the opportunity fund or the cash reserves available to be able to take advantage of that opportunity. What's different about this shift as any that we've ever been before is because if you think about, and we go back, regardless of how long you've been in real estate, you read the papers, if you were in real estate when this happened, then you understand what the effect was. In 2008, when we went through the economic crisis and the mortgage collapse and the banking collapse, and we went through the shift, it was basically the job was work as usual, business as usual. Did the market change? Yes. Did prices change? Yes. Did inventory change? Yes. Did all of the signs that go with a typical shift in real estate occur? Yes. If you really, though, consider how different was our job as a real estate agent coming out of that shift. We still wrote contracts. We still wrote buyer contracts. We still wrote listing contracts. We still basically did business the same way that we did prior to the shift. There wasn't a whole lot different, except the number of real estate agents changed. What's different about this shift is the industry is changing so rapidly. At the same time, we're heading into an economic shift, a real estate shift. So as Gary, and you keep hearing Gary Keller say, and if you watch the Inman reports, that when he was at Inman, he said, look, the real estate industry will be unrecognizable in the next 3 to 5 years. You will not recognize it. And who's going to win that battle of whether you're a tech-enabled agent or agent-enabled tech? Meaning, who's going to rule? Are you going to be an agent that uses technology, or are you going to be technology that uses a real estate agent? Regardless of what happens, the greatest insulator you can have in your business to ensure that you're part of the future, not the past, is that you have taken care of the bank and you've taken care of money. You've taken care of your finances. You've gotten your control around bills. You've gotten your expenses down. You've paid off debt. You've eliminated any risk that goes along with the bloat that you may have allowed to happen the last couple of years. So when the MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, was originally written, it said that we are in a marketing-based business that's prospecting enhanced. And at the time the book was written, that was very true. You saw a lot of agents do a lot of marketing. It was higher expense-wise, and yet the rate of return was good. So that's kind of the business that we were in. When the market shifted, Gary shifted with it and said, look, here's what you need to do to tackle tough times in the road ahead. What you've got to do is run a business that's prospecting-based, marketing-enhanced, and that's never changed. From a philosophical standpoint, the mindset has never changed. If you go to Bold, and what Diana teaches when you go to Bold is about it's prospecting based, it's for subminers, it's expireds, it's your database, it's working the best ROI for your business. And yet over the last couple of years, as we as MAPS coaches have looked at P&Ls, profit and loss statements, we've looked at expenses, we've looked at allocation forms, we've seen a growing trend towards expenses based on a marketing-based business, prospecting enhanced, when it really should always be, and stay this point forward, a prospecting-based business that's marketing enhanced. So we start this out talking about the shift because this is that pivotal moment. You get to decide today what you're going to do about your money and what you're going to do about money habits, what your feelings around money are, what you do with money, and how you put money where it benefits you most and insulates you, the people around you, so you have a great career future regardless of what the market and what the industry do post this next shift. Let's go to the next slide. So if you've ever read this book, it's called Who Moved My Cheese? You could read this in an afternoon, you could read it over a lunch break, you could read it, you could listen to it on audio, probably to or from your office in most cases, depending upon what speed you listen to it. This book represents, in a silly way, what a real estate or an economic shift looks like. One day you're going to wake up and things happen gradually, then suddenly. You're going to look at the inventory, you're going to look at the market, you're going to look at the business, you're going to look at technology, and you're going to realize things have radically changed. And they've changed in a dramatic way. Well, why is this important? What do you need to know about this? And why would we bring this to the book? Well, because this book basically says, who are you going to be in the road ahead? If you've ever read the book, you know there are 4 mice, basically, and there's a block of cheese in the middle of a maze. Sniff, scurry, hem, and haw. And to summarize, Sniff and Scurry, they do whatever it takes. One morning they wake up and they realize the block of cheese is gone, and they go out to find it. They don't look, they don't think about where it went, they didn't complain about it, they don't blame anyone. They just move on and go find the next block of cheese. The last 2 mice, hem and haw, they decide to sit there. Maybe it'll come back, maybe it'll change. I don't want it to change. I want it to stay the way it was. Ultimately, one of them finally decides at the last moment possible, the moment between life and death, to go out and see if they can find a new block of cheese. And it doesn't say it in the book, although you kind of get the impression that the last mouse waits so long that he ultimately dies. So we bring this up to paint a really bright picture, not so much, of what's actually happening. As the market shifts, the early adopters who embrace the technology that Keller Williams is offering, and embrace Kelly, embrace the Career Growth Initiative of John Davis, they embrace the tools and resources, and they also fund their business, getting it lean and mean, getting real, getting right, remargining the business, and figuring out and how to master the path of They've got a formula for success, and they're not waiting to see what happens next. The market's changed, great, I'm going to change with it. I'm going to first look at my expenses. I'm going to get back in the four models. I'm going to focus on embracing all of the changes in technology and the tools, and then we're going to move forward. So the question becomes, are you going to be the living, breathing, thriving mice, or the one that's sitting there waiting and may be the mice that perish? Your choice. Now is that time to decide. Next slide. So here's what's happened in the last couple of years. A growing trend towards a lack of preparation. In many parts of the country, the shift book was written before the shift was ever experienced. Most of the Midwest wasn't experiencing shift when Gary Keller armed Keller Williams Real Estate Agents and the company with the shift and the 12 tactics of shift. Diana Kokoska armed the company and the agents with BOLD and with MAPS coaching and with group coaching and all the resources that we offer with MAPS coaching. You look at John Davis, he has armed the leadership and the market centers with a growth initiative and the agents with the career growth initiative tools. And we're constantly arming our agents with more and more tools and resources they need to thrive in the next marketplace, which is exactly why we wrote Master the Path of Money. Master the Path of Money is designed to help you go from the mindset, the habits, what we need to know about money, how we need to think about money, what we should feel about money, ultimately what we should do with money so we can have better results with money. If you've been through BOLD, you understand point FAR. Our programming leads to our thoughts, which lead to our feelings, which lead to our actions, which lead to our results, which leads to our programming, which is exactly the formula we're going to follow in Master the Path of Money, walking you through how to think, how to flip it, feel, then ultimately what to do so we can get even better results with money. This is the landscape of the United States today. This isn't designed to scare anyone. This is just kind of a reality check of what's happening. We have an if-then mentality around money. When I say we, I'm talking about the majority of Americans. We means when we get to this point, I'll become an investor. When this happens, or if blank happens, then I'll focus on getting right with money. Thinking more about money, thinking more abundantly about money, eliminating scarcity around money, getting my debt paid off, getting debt reduction taken care of, getting to a place of abundance versus scarcity. When something has to happen first, then we'll do it. And this is ultimately what we see. You realize that 70% of millennials have saved zero for retirement. Zero. That's not picking on millennials, because the later generation, the baby boomer generation, isn't doing much better. 66% of Americans would struggle to pay for an $1,000 emergency, and the majority of those are older Americans. 78% of people live paycheck to paycheck. And if you look at the average consumer debt, outside of mortgages, student loans make up the majority of debt in the country today, and it's only growing. So why do we say this? Because you're in a business that has the ability to create an infinite amount of money, and many real estate agents aren't money magnets, they're money funnels, which means money flows through you on its destination towards someone or something else, somewhere else. We have a MREA budget model. Question is, are you in it, out of it, or don't know? Where would you find yourself on that road around money? And the majority of this is behavior. And here's how we know it's behavior. Because money is emotion, and it's an emotional thing. It's not mathematical. Money is emotional, not mathematical. The reason money is emotional is because you can instantly change how you feel based on what you do with money. If you're feeling happy, if you're feeling sad, you may use money as a way to increase or change that state. Many people go spend when they're happy. Many people go spend when they're sad. Some people go spend when they're bored. If you go to the mailbox and you look at your bank statements, you look at your bills, you look at debt, do you think or do you feel something? Money is an emotional thing because it creates feelings, good, bad, some positive, some negative. And then ultimately, what do we do with that? Based on these statistics, we're not making the best decisions to put ourselves in a place for later in life we can thrive. And something that Dave Ramsey said is, live like no one else, and later you can live like no one else, which he changed to now, later you can give like no one else. Let's go to the next slide. So this is kind of a snapshot on what behavior can do. This is one of the things we're going to teach in Master the Path of Money. We're going to teach you the compound effect, or what Einstein called the eighth wonder of the world, the power of compound interest. Next to gravity, the most powerful thing there is. What makes it so powerful? Well, it's kind of like the principles that Gary Keller has taught for years. It's time on task over time. You take something and you put money into an account. You put money into an account, and over time it accumulates, and then you put an interest rate into effect, and then it accumulates faster and faster over time. So what we did is we threw out kind of an average idea of these are things that you would see real estate agents, people spend money on. Some of these are the most common, what we call ghost money, or where you spend something on an item that doesn't appreciate, doesn't cash flow. If you've ever taken QL or Quantum Leap from Gary Keller, he says, one of the things about people today is we've majored in minors, or we've mastered the art of BS. And all he means by, if I held up the brand new iPhone that they're advertising with the facial recognition, and it's got the most amazing camera on it, and I said, perfect, it's out of the box, brand new, never been touched, never been opened, can activate with any company, and it's $150. Majority, if not everyone on this call, would know that's a great value. If I held up a certain backpack or pair of shoes, name brand, Prada, Gucci, and we held those up and said, okay, great, $50, brand new, out of the box, your size, you'd know they're a value. Majority of people, if not everybody, would know exactly what that means and that it's valuable or what the value is. If I said it's $10,000, no one would buy it. Or you'd ask specifically what brand, specifically what number. So what Gary's getting at is we've spent so much time majoring in minors or mastering the value in things that don't appreciate and don't cash flow. They don't lead to things that grow wealth over time. We make purchases around the same thing. That's why when you go to the grocery store, you go to Lowe's, you go pretty much to any retail store these days, they've learned how to get your ghost money because they put all of the things right next to the aisle. They put the candy down where kids can reach it and see it, the little toys, and they put the snacks and the 5-hour energies and the Red Bulls and the sodas higher where the adults can see them. So ultimately, as we're walking out the door, we make that last-minute purchase on the magazine that we'll probably not read, or on the cup of coffee, or the Starbucks. That's why most Walmarts these days, they have a McDonald's, they have a Starbucks, just to catch your ghost money on the way out. So this is what happens over time. If you calculate and save, and you can download any compound interest calculator will show you this, and then we're going to switch and make this real estate applicable. So if you look at over the course of 10 years, and then when we're teaching this concept in Master the Path of Money, we're going to teach you what 20 years, what higher interest rates, what putting your ghost money over time into things that do appreciate, do cash flow, and what that can lead to. If you, for example, buy a cup of coffee at $6 a week for 10 years, that's just $6 a week. And at an 8% interest, that's a fairly low interest rate. If you look at the average mutual fund, index fund over the last 30 years, you'll see the average around 12%. So we just did an average of 8%, which is it's a conservative money. So if you put this into a mutual fund or something, an IRA, for example, and you left it in there for the next 10 years, this is what that would accumulate to. I'll let these numbers sink in for a minute. $10 a week for 10 years, $5,200. $5,200 is what you would spend if you put that same amount of money in an interest-bearing account or a mutual fund. Open a TD Ameritrade account, which we're going to walk you through. Open a E-Trade account, which we'll walk you through. Basically, we're going to walk you through how do you open an investment account, where do you get started. If you took that and you put that amount of money in there for the same time, $10 or $20 or $30 or $50 a week over the course of 10 years. Just look at lunches. If you eat out once a week, which many of you may eat out 4 or 5 days a week, I've seen profit and loss statements where I'm partially convinced you might eat at a 5-star restaurant every day of the week. Tens, 20, 30, $50,000 in meals over the course of a year. Just at $50 a week for 10 years, you'd spend $26,000. At 8%, you would earn dividend, passive income. You'd earn $13,000 for a total of $39,123. All we're getting at is, are you paying attention to where your money is going versus where it could be going over time? So many people talk about, I want passive income, I want passive income, and I want passive income. Yet do you understand really what passive income means? It means to be paid a dividend. It used to be you just put your money in the bank account, and then on your monthly statement, you saw a number pop up. That number was a dividend. That was passive income. We have our profit share plan, our profit share model with Keller Williams Realty International. That's passive income. There's buying investments. There's anything ultimately that's going to pay you dividends or a rate of return, a return on your investment. You put in $4, you get back $5. That's $1 passive income. Next slide. Before we dive into this, there's an app on the iPhone. It's called Compound. I think it's Compound Me. That's a calculator you can use. Just any compound interest calculator you'll download when you take Master the Path of Money, because we're going to go through your own expenses, and we're going to make this a little bit more relevant. So I'm not picking on anybody. I am not picking on any company. I'm just going to point out trends and behavior that are commonplace in the real estate industry today. When Gary wrote the Shift book, he said, the seeds of failure are planted during times of success. The seeds of failure are planted during times of success. So what that means is we have behaved in a way based on abundance that now we may suffer for later. And where I'll give you an example is around tools and technology. One of the reasons Gary Keller and the tech team and Josh team are building the technology that we have is because they found that real estate agents within Keller Williams are spending $1 billion a year on technology. And a lot of that is because of the seeds of failure planted during times of success, or we've allowed bloat to just be an okay expense, or what we call ghost money. So, for example, if you have, and you're using, I'm not picking on these companies, just using them as examples. If you have a CRM, and that CRM, one of the more common ones, let's just say TP, okay? You have this program, it runs about $35 a month. If you have this program, or any like it, okay, pick any CRM, contact management system, that you're not using to its potential, or you're not maximizing in some way, or you've turned into an expensive label maker, or in most cases a storage tank or holding facility because you don't know what to do with it. Well, I'm using blank CRM, and then I also have this CRM because it's got my old clients in it. I don't really do anything with them, but I don't want to delete it. And then I've got this other CRM over here, and that's where I do my farming. At $35 a month, with an initial deposit of $35 at a 10% interest rate over 5 years, you would have made $658.57 in passive income. It will cost you $2,135. That will be your hard cost. And what you could have made at the same time by taking that amount of money, not putting it into the CRM we're not using or have as a label maker, and put it into something that has interest-bearing possibilities or potential at a 10% rate, that'd be $658 you would have made total $2,793.57 just with making that one decision different. Well, let's make it a little bit more painful. If you're using one of those big programs and you're not maximizing it, you're not forcing it, and here's an example. If you're using a CRM that's over $1,000 or $1,500 that has the pretty bells and whistles and websites and all of that cool stuff, when you have the opportunity to switch to Command and start doing that today, here's what you're going to be able to see. Make the decision. When you master the path of money, you take that amount of money and you immediately put it into an investment of some kind. An IRA, a retirement account, a 401k, a SEP, something that we're going to teach you what these mean and the simplicity behind them. Over 5 years at a 10% interest rate, at $1,500 a month for the initial contribution, which is what most of those programs cost, and then they charge usually around $1,200, $1,275 a month, you will have paid over 5 years $78,000. $78,000 is what you will have paid into one of those programs. Your end capital over 5 years at 10% interest would be $102,137, which means you would have made $24,000 in passive income. That's a down payment on rental property. That's a down payment into something else that can bring a return. Next slide. This is what it's all about. Actually, I think we need to go back one. Okay, this is what it's all about. Gary Keller wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and in that book he originally put this. The way he describes this sheet is he says, think of this as a board game. The board game is you have your capital asset or your human capital. That's if you make $5,000 in a month and you have $3,000 in expenses, household business, $2,000 left over is what we would call your human capital. After you've paid your bills, your human capital is what's left over. That's your cash flow. So that you have the human capital, the money you work for, which is the $5,000. You have your cash flow, which is whatever's left over after your bills. So we say, $3,000 in bills, $2,000 left over. You have four choices what you do with that money. You can spend it, which we are phenomenal consumers. We don't need help with that. In Master the Path of Money, we're going to work on giving you better consumer habits and really focusing on where you can cut the ghost money, get debt-free, get away from the pain that has been associated with money for so long, and get into the freedom that it offers. You can save it, which many people also have. Saving is just delayed spending. You can hold on to it, or you can invest it. Spend it. Actually, there's one change on this. You can spend it. Hold it as save it. You can donate it. There's an incorrection on number 2 on that slide. It should be spend it, donate it, hold it, which is save it, or invest it. The way the board game works is if you don't put something, whether it's $1, a nickel, a dime, 20, 100, doesn't matter. If no percentage of the money left over after you pay your bills goes towards investing, the board game is over. The path to financial freedom isn't there. The only hope to financial freedom, and I learned from Tony DeCello that hope isn't a strategy, yet the only hope to financial independence is that you're going to save enough that you won't outlive it in the future. You won't have outlived your retirement. The real path to mastering the path of money is becoming financially independent. The only way to become financially independent or wealthy is truly by investing, where your passive income pays you more than you spend in any given day, week, month, year. And unless we put some money in that investment category, the game's over. When we switch into technology and you change and you cut expenses and we get our mind right around where can we cut, where can we get rid of the fluff, you too can master the path of money. And then we're going to teach you the last portions on what's passive, what's active, what can you do with it. Next slide, please. So here are the details. This program begins on October 29th, 2 p.m. Central Time. It's 8 weekly calls. They will be recorded, followed immediately by a 30-minute, there will be a private Facebook group, a 30-minute Q&A following Facebook Live. All calls are recorded and highly, highly encouraged for active participation. We're going to get rid of the negative emotions and habits surrounding money. Show you how to embrace a game-winning strategy where you can see progress made over time. We're not going to teach you a get-rich-quick scheme because there isn't one. We're going to show you something that you already know. Spend less than you make, invest the difference, and you have a path to wealth. We're just going to show you tried, true methods of where can you do that, where can you do it at a high level. Group Facebook allowing you to learn from others share your work, get feedback. Last slide. So we officially launched October 28th, got the details, and then as of right now, it's the regular price is $198. We're offering an early bird special at $168. You can sign up on masterthepath.com. You can also go to mapscoaching.com, look at the group page, and look at Master the Path of Money. And here's an interesting thought. Many people would rather pay for the privilege of procrastinating rather than sign up today. Save the $30. This program is about teaching how to master that path and teach the habits to get you on the path so you can create a game-winning strategy and you can thrive in any market moving forward. And it starts with save wherever you can. I appreciate everyone's time today. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out.
Drew?
Yes.
Hi, sorry. So there were two questions that came up during the course, and I thought maybe you could just answer them real quick.
Please.
The first one was, how do we tell if it's an economic shift or just a winter holiday showdown? That was from the beginning of the course.
Mm-hmm. How do we tell if it's an economic shift or a holiday showdown? Go back to tactic 7 of shift. Go also back to the very beginning. Are you watching the inventory and is it accumulating? Are prices changing? Are the signs that a shift, both the months of inventory, the prices, the days on market, are they changing? And are you comparing them to what a normal, what you would say, the end of the year? What's normal in your marketplace?
Okay, thank you. And then the last question is this course or program like Agent Financials that used to be taught?
No. That's the best way I can say it. This is a culmination of best practices around some of the smartest people with money. This really dives into, Gary used to say, if you took the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book and you chopped it in half, the first half of the book is all about money. The second half is now what do you do with it in the form of real estate. There's a lot of education information out there about money, and we've just taken the best practices from Quantum Leap, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and then a lot of outside resources to just make up the best practices. So no, there will be some, for example, the Millionaire Real Estate Investor or Millionaire Real Estate Agent numbers of the budget model, for example, and what to do with that, and how do you know your numbers for the Career Growth Initiative. With the exception of that, no, it's very different.
Okay, that's all the questions. Thank you, Drew.
Thank you, and thanks to you for everyone joining us today. Look forward to having you on the course.